If you're here watching this webinar, firstly, I'd like to say I'm sorry to hear what you're going through and wish you and your loved one the very best in the coming months. Congratulations on taking the first step towards getting the support you both need on the rocky road ahead. I believe there is a center of wisdom within each of us, and when we are ready to make changes in our lives, we attract that which we need to help us. The very fact that you've discovered me in this webinar means that you are already in the process of bringing healing to yourself and your loved one. My intention for this webinar is to give you the comfort, support, and practical tools you need and can implement straight away to give your loved one the very best support because she deserves it. A cancer journey can literally tear healthy relationships apart and leave people feeling unappreciated, unsupported, and unloved. They can also be beautiful opportunities to bring people closer together, to build deeper, richer, loving relationships. And that is my aim for you. I am sharing my insights as I want you to have the intel you need to help you to be the best possible support. Navigating a cancer journey is tough for the one going through it, but can be equally tough for the support person too. This may be a tough time, but you've got this. You are stronger than you think, and together we can do this. We will be covering four main areas in this webinar. First, we're going to look at understanding the emotional journey of cancer. Second, the do's and don'ts when comforting a loved one. 3, tips for talking about cancer and emotions. So, what to say and what not to say. And 4, practical ways you can help give support. But before we dive in, let me introduce myself. I'm Cindy Scott, and I've had breast cancer twice. I was diagnosed for the second time in early 2020, just 6 weeks out from our wedding. At that time, I had a bustling leadership coaching and training business. I was fit, strong, healthy, and looking forward to the very best year of my life. My fiance at the time and I had recently moved to tropical Queensland in Australia, and our life was beautiful. I was ticking things off my pre wedding to do list and discovered I had a lump when getting my annual mammogram and ultrasound. You can imagine my surprise given how fit and healthy I was. I had the lump investigated, and my worst fears were realized. I had cancer again. Now, if I could take you back a few years, the start of 2020 was also the same time when COVID was rearing its ugly head. Global alerts were coming out to return to your home country and to isolate. My oncologist wanted me to cancel our wedding so I could start chemo straight away. I told him there was no way I would do that. We had been planning our wedding for nearly a year. But with the spread of fear around COVID and resulting travel restrictions, we were forced to cancel our wedding, and I headed into self isolation to keep safe prior to commencing chemo. I am happy to report we did elope with just 2 witnesses. As you can imagine, this was a lot to take on board. It was an emotional roller coaster, to be sure. Just weeks before my hair fell out, I chose to color it pink, and then I shaved it off as it was falling out in clumps. Like many, I fell victim to the cancer curse, a cocktail of emotions that forces our body into a debilitating cycle of fear, blame, and disconnection. And I spiraled into darker and darker places. Until one day, my beloved Chris said to me, Cindy, you have so many people who love you and want to help you. Why don't you let them support you? In this wonderful gesture of kindness, he was literally giving me a permission slip to shift the focus of my attention onto me, to see my worthiness, to put me first for once, and to take the necessary time to navigate my healing journey. I can assure you that this wasn't some miraculous transition. It took time, it took guts, it took inner work. But what matters most is it took someone outside of myself to give me permission to slow way down, to put the focus on me and get the healing I needed. And you can gift that permission slip to your loved one too. I had enough on my plate facing a life threatening diagnosis and the seismic changes in my life. What I hadn't expected or anticipated was how my husband would respond. I was struggling myself and had no bandwidth for his emotional needs. I could tell he needed help. He was struggling just as much as I was. And like many men, he is proud and chose to soldier on rather than seek help for himself. He needed help, though. which is why I've created this webinar to demystify the emotions around cancer so you and your loved one can tread this path with greater ease together. Now, I want to let you in on a little secret. Having had cancer twice, the biggest difference between both experiences was the way I chose to respond to my diagnosis. The first time I was angry and I wondered why me. I swept my diagnosis under the carpet, didn't share it with many people, soldiered on with work, and refused much of the advised treatment. None of these strategies were helpful in getting the support that I needed. But the second time through, I handled things differently. Now, I'm not saying I did things perfectly. I got angry too and wondered why cancer had shown up again. Thankfully, I have some beautiful friends in my life. One day, a Buddhist friend of mine said, "Do you think meeting cancer with anger and fighting this disease will help heal it?" She has a funny way of smacking you right between the eyes with her loving questions. And in that moment, I knew that it hadn't worked for me the first time, and it definitely wouldn't work for me now. I knew anger wasn't my path to healing. I have studied neuroscience for years and I've read a ton of books on the mind body connection. So I knew having elevated levels of cortisol and adrenaline, those are the stress hormones, coursing through my blood was never going to bring me peace and calm, nor did I think it was my pathway to healing. So instead of trying to crush, fight, or conquer cancer, I chose a very different path. I chose to be curious and compassionate about the cancer growing in my body. I intuitively felt that my body had created the cancer for a reason. I wondered if cancer had something to say to me, what would it have to say? I was determined to do what I could to foster healing. I didn't want to wait or leave my healing to doctors I barely knew. I wanted to take a lead role, and that's exactly what I did. Having been through cancer twice now, I wanted to share the one thing I wish I knew from the start. Your medical team, God love them, will most likely take a pragmatic and clinical approach to treatment. After all, that is their expertise and what they've been trained to do. As I took in my diagnosis and was thrust into a world of scans, tests, and new information, I wish I could just hit the stop button and catch my breath. It all seemed too much to bear. Nothing prepares you for news that will rock you to your core and carry such weight about your mortality, your health, and your future. For the first time in my life, I was confronted with something that was happening inside of me as opposed to outside of me. And my doctors didn't seem to care that my world was falling apart. They didn't have time to help. My medical team took a very matter of fact clinical approach to my diagnosis and treatment. They took a very singular approach to my physical well being and the cancer cells growing there. But I was struggling on an emotional level, and my mind was all over the place. What was I supposed to make of the sudden shift from being the independent go getter chick I was to the sudden dependent cancer patient I had become? Since my doctors failed to provide any emotional support, I went on a quest for answers. I turned to reading a ton of books on the mind body connection. I explored many books on Western medicine and mainstream channels, but that didn't give me the answers I was looking for. I knew there had to be more to it than just dealing with the physical body. We are far more multifaceted than that. I read books from Deepak Chopra, Bruce Lipton, Lisa Rankin, Joe Dispenza, Brandon Bays, Pema Chodron, Kristen Neff, and more, and discovered the answers I was seeking sat more in Eastern philosophy and medicine. There had to be more than just the physical body, and of course, I discovered so much more. Yes, we have a physical body, but we have a mind, heart, and soul too. My medical team were entirely focused on my physical body, but offered little support beyond that. Through treatment, I began journaling to quell the swirl of emotions within me and to bring some calm to my monkey mind. I find writing to be highly therapeutic and helped in making sense of what was happening. I was writing madly through it all until one day a girlfriend said, "Cindy, why don't you write a book?" I didn't think the world needed another book about cancer. And then she suggested, "Why don't you make it a workbook and bring your wealth of coaching tools into it also?" And something within me said, "Heck yes," in reply. Once this idea had been planted in my mind and heart, the book, The Healing Journal, literally was born through me. All of these ideas came through practical tools, mindfulness practices, journaling prompts, inspirational poems. It was a beautiful passion project I took to in the midst of treatment, getting great comfort knowing I would be paying my experience forward for women who would come after me. This beautiful 400-page colored journal is full of inspiration and hope and ways to heal body, mind, and soul. As I put the book together, I developed a holistic healing model, which I now call the 4-quadrant healing model, and it looks like this. I was determined to jump in the driver's seat of my healing journey. I didn't want to wait for doctors to heal me and instead chose to take a lead role in my healing journey. I used the 4-quadrant healing model to reclaim my power and heal not just my physical body, but my mind, heart, and soul too. I knew I didn't want cancer a third time, so I was prepared to do what it takes. A cancer diagnosis is a life-changing event. It doesn't only affect the person with cancer, but also their family and friends. Different people will respond in a range of different ways. Each and every journey is unique to the individual and the support they have around them. Taking time to care for yourself. That brings me to you. Let's talk about you and your important role as carer. Your loved one will be going through a lot, and no doubt you will be too. So, first things first, I need you to put on the oxygen mask and take care of your needs before tending to the needs of anyone else. It's crucial to look after your own physical and emotional well being during this time and beyond. If you aren't well, then you will have no energy to care for others. Self care isn't selfish. There are many self care strategies that can help you to cope and feel more in control. Here are 9 that I'd recommend to keep you feeling strong, grounded, and able to give support. Number 1, process your own feelings. Learning that a loved one has cancer can be difficult news to digest. Take time to acknowledge and cope with your own emotions about the diagnosis away from them. Seek support, write in a journal, spend time in nature, or any ways that bring you calm so that you can be present for them. The last thing your loved one needs is to carry the weight of your emotions on top of their own. 2, be informed about the diagnosis and treatment options. Learn as much as you can about their cancer and treatment options. The more you know, the more empowered you will feel. If you have questions, don't be afraid to ask them. Doctors are there to help. 3, keep your body moving through exercise can help to reduce stress and fatigue. Research has shown that regular physical activity can help with feelings of anger, stress, anxiety, and depression. It can also help boost energy and improve sleep. Even a short daily walk can be effective. 4, nourish your body with healthy food and drink. Eating healthy food and drinking plenty of water will help your body cope with physical and emotional stress. Be gentle with yourself, though. Listen to your body and give it what it needs. 5, get enough sleep. When you're tired, it's harder to cope with stress. Be sure to get good quality sleep so you feel rested. 6, practice mindfulness to focus on the present moment. Practicing mindfulness can also be helpful in managing stress and anxiety. Taking a few minutes each day to focus on your breath and being present in the moment can help to calm and center you. 7, write in a journal. Journal writing can also be very therapeutic. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can help you process them in a healthy way and release them from your mind. 8, connect with others, whether it's family, friends, or a support group for caregivers of cancer patients. Talking to others who understand what you're going through can be very helpful. Knowing that you're not alone in this journey can make all the difference. 9, seek professional help. If you're struggling to cope, seeking help from a counselor or therapist can provide support and guidance during this difficult time. Taking care of yourself is not selfish, it's essential. By making self care a priority, you'll be better equipped to handle the challenges that come with cancer. So let's take a look at understanding and managing shock, fear, and anxiety. Just between you and me, how are you really going? Take a moment to check in with yourself. Take a deep breath. Are you feeling shocked, fearful, overwhelmed, perhaps confused? Are you able to make sense of all that's happening, or does it feel like a blur? As a carer, you will have your own range of emotions. One day life all seems normal, and the next, well, the carpet gets pulled from under you and you don't know which way is up. A cancer diagnosis in itself comes as quite a shock to our system. It's a trauma all by itself, a trauma not with a little t, but a big T. Trauma can wreak all sorts of havoc on our nervous system. I didn't realize this at the time as I didn't have language around it, but hearing a diagnosis is enough to trigger a significant stress response. And most doctors are not trauma informed and can deliver this information in such a cold and clinical manner, probably because they do this so often. So, being equipped with this knowledge is vital to you and your loved one. First, a bit of background about our nervous system. Our super clever nervous systems are hardwired for our survival. It serves to protect us and keep us safe. So, thank heavens for that. So, whenever we experience a potential threat to our safety, this system goes into high alert. You and your loved one may be in shock and may not even recognize the symptoms immediately. As your system tries to take in this new information, many neurochemical responses are happening at lightning speed in your brain and body, and it's likely you'll be functioning in survival mode. This means the more primitive parts of the brain are activated as the nervous system tries to assess the priorities of your immediate survival. It does, however, often mean the higher functioning parts of your brain involved in problem solving and complex analysis can go offline as survival takes priority. Without understanding what's happening physiologically, in an attempt to override the disbelief or appear normal and get on with things, important information can be missed from your medical practitioners. So, what can you do to calm the farm? This is where you come in. I highly recommend that you or a close friend accompany your loved one to all medical appointments. Chances are they are not functioning as per their normal self and need a friend or ally to give support and keep them grounded, take care of their well being, and advocate in their best interests. It is always good to accompany them to crucial appointments when needing to take in information and ask questions, particularly about diagnosis and treatment options. One of the most important things to understand about stress is that everyone responds differently. We all have different survival strategies that we've developed from early childhood. And so when we're faced with challenging situations, we tend to react in our own unique ways. That being said, there are some general guidelines that can be helpful for understanding how to deal with stress. For example, shock is often referred to as the freeze response. This is because when we're in a state of shock, we may feel frozen in place, unable to move or take action. There are physical signs of shock as well, such as a sudden drop in blood pressure or blood flow through the body. You may also feel cold, clammy, faint, or dry mouthed, and your breathing may become shallow. In addition, you may hyperventilate, feeling tingly all over, or lose touch with reality and be unable to hear or comprehend what's going on around you. Whilst it may be a surprise or feel uncomfortable, this is totally normal and part of being human whilst facing adversity. Shock can also manifest as a flight response, and you may both feel like running as fast as possible to leave the situation, mobilizing all the muscles and narrowing your focus towards getting out of here. Ungrounded, disembodied feelings also result here, and if you can be aware enough to stop, breathe, bring yourself back into your body, it's of benefit to your well being. Occasionally, shock will elicit an unprompted fight response where you can experience the urge to push back, hit out, and stop the bearer of bad news. Again, this is an instinctual mechanism of the body trying to protect and defend itself against threat. Tears are very often right under the surface needing to be released, and this can help to downregulate the nervous system to a more tolerable level of experience. We are often in shock for quite some time after a life changing diagnosis, and you may have a lingering sense of being a bit disconnected, not functioning at your normal level. It comes and goes, and you may feel just fine some days, and then on others, completely out of your body, lightheaded, unfocused, or ungrounded, and where nothing makes sense. I know I was in shock for several weeks, if not months. If stress and anxiety are ongoing, it can affect the way we think and react to events and people around us. You may find it helpful to practice relaxation by enjoying one of the many free meditations on our resources page, or listen to the Managing Fear episode on the Rethinking Cancer podcast. Having compassion for yourself and recognizing you deserve care and kindness as you navigate this new territory is the best approach. Understanding emotions. Most people experience a range of strong emotions after a cancer diagnosis. This may be when they first find out that it's cancer, and also at various times during and after treatment. The intense feelings may be constant or they may come and go. You may find that some pass with time while others last longer. It might feel like they're on a roller coaster. There's no right or wrong way to feel. Everyone is different and will deal with the diagnosis in their own unique way. As you navigate this challenging time, it may be reassuring to know that these reactions are natural and there are different ways to manage the emotional impact and get the support you both need. At any stage, your loved one may experience times of distress and feel a range of strong emotions such as disbelief, fear, anxiety, anger, and sadness. A psychiatrist at the Stanford University School of Medicine in California, Dr. David Spiegel, puts it simply saying, "Emotions are your friends, not your enemies, so see them as a signal system that's there for a reason." Emotions are a normal part of what you're both going through and best not to keep bottled up or repressed. Our emotions are completely legitimate and you're entitled to feel them. So let's take a look at the different stages in a cancer journey and some commonly felt emotions that can arise. Diagnosis. It's often difficult to take in the news immediately. You might hear the words, but not be able to absorb them or believe them. Most people feel overwhelmed at first. A natural response might be to move away from others and choose to isolate. Dr. Kristen Neff states that there can be a tendency to move away from the support of others as they may feel that people won't understand what they're going through and don't want to burden people with their messiness. Treatment decisions. The weeks after diagnosis can be stressful as you weigh up the options. People often feel anxious about treatments, side effects, and whether they are making the right decisions. During treatment, cancer treatments can be physically demanding and disrupt usual routines. You may need to deal with practical issues such as travel, finances, work, and family responsibilities. Treatment side effects. Side effects can make it harder to cope emotionally, while emotional distress may make physical side effects worse. The good news is many side effects can now be managed well. After treatment, many people are puzzled if their mood doesn't improve as soon as their treatment ends. This can be a time of great personal change as they think about their priorities and adjust to any long-term impacts. It is common to feel concerned about the cancer returning too, especially when they have follow-up tests. Advanced cancer. It can be devastating to find out that cancer is advanced at first diagnosis or that it has returned after treatment. You, your family, and carers may find it helpful to see a counselor. These are the main stages through a cancer journey and some common emotional reactions. I will be sharing some tools that will help deal with these reactions a bit later in this webinar. Managing change. It's inevitable. At some point in a cancer journey, you and your loved one will be experiencing loss. Loss and associated grief are often the first stage of change. I know this was a big one for me. As Dr. William Bridges asserts in his phases of transition model, the first stage of change is an ending, a loss, and a letting go. Loss may include the loss of good health, temporary or permanent changes to appearance, not being able to work or do normal activities, changed finances, loss of independence, changed relationships, or perhaps a shift in how they see themselves. And I know this was a really big one for me. So let's look at the stages of dealing with a cancer diagnosis. The grief curve is a model that was created by Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross to help explain the stages of grief. The model consists of 6 stages. It's important to note that these stages are not linear. You may move back and forth between them before finally reaching acceptance. Stage 1, shock and denial, is the first stage. This is when we try to convince ourselves that the loss hasn't really happened. We may go through the motions of our daily lives in a state of shock or disbelief. This is a defense mechanism that helps us to cope with the pain by refusing to accept reality. Stage two is anger. This is when we become frustrated and may lash out at those around us. We may feel like we're being unfairly punished and that the world is against us. This stage can be difficult to get through, but it's important to remember that it's a natural part of the grieving process. Bargaining is the third stage of grief. This is when we try to make deals with God or fate in an attempt to change the outcome. We may also find ourselves making promises such as, if I get through this, I will make some changes in my life, or if only I had listened to my body. This stage can be frustrating because it often leads to the feelings of helplessness and self blame. Depression is the fourth stage of grief. This is when we finally accept the reality of our loss. We may feel numb and disconnected from those around us. We may also lose interest in activities that we used to enjoy. This stage can be difficult, but it's important to remember that it's a necessary part of the grieving process. Acceptance is the fifth stage of grief. This is when we come to terms with our loss and begin to move forward. We may still feel sad or angry at times, but we're able to start living again. This stage can be difficult, but it's important to remember that it's a necessary part of the grieving process. And finally, integration is a stage that I've added to the journey. Integration is about coming out the other side, getting back into life, but for many, into a life that has been altered in many ways. And even though treatment may have finished, the journey of integration can be a super challenging time. The grief curve is a helpful tool for understanding the stages of grief. However, it's important to remember that everyone grieves in their own way, and there is no right or wrong way to do it. Now let's look at the emotional impact of cancer. I personally found the emotional upheaval throughout treatment to be among the most challenging aspects overall. When one's emotional health needs are met, naturally, we're in a better position to manage the demands of treatment. Your loved one is undoubtedly going through a lot, and she will need emotional support on her journey. Her medical team will be taking care of her physical well being and addressing the cancer cells, but there is little regard or support for one's emotional and mental well being. We are not one dimensional, but are complex and multifaceted. In order to survive and thrive from cancer, we need a multi layered approach. The four quadrant healing model gives guidance and support to heal not only the body, but the mind and heart too. I'll be sharing a little bit more about this model and how to navigate it a bit later on in this webinar. So, what emotions might show up? It's been said we must feel it to heal it. Allowing her to feel and even express her emotions is valuable. So, what emotions might present, I hear you ask? Shock and disbelief. The first reaction to a cancer diagnosis is often shock. You both may feel numb as if you aren't feeling any emotion. It may take time to accept that your loved one has cancer, especially if they don't feel sick. This numbness can protect them as they gradually come to terms with the diagnosis. Some people may never fully accept the diagnosis. Over time, denial can make it harder to accept the demands of treatment and to heal. So, what I'm sharing with you here is so vitally important. Fear and anxiety. Cancer treatments and outcomes have greatly improved in recent years, but it's still very frightening to hear the words, "you have cancer." It's natural to worry about the treatment, side effects, test results, and the long term outcome, as well as how the cancer diagnosis will affect family, work, and other responsibilities. Most people cope better when they learn more about their diagnosis and treatment options and choose to take a lead role in developing a plan on how to manage practical issues. This is where you can help. The lead up to new treatments can be particularly stressful, but your loved one may find they feel calmer once treatment is underway. Panic attacks. For some people, severe anxiety or fear can lead to panic attacks. These might happen in a particular situation, such as before a medical procedure, and sometimes there's no trigger at all. In a panic attack, shortness of breath, a racing heart, and dizziness may be intense, but they will normally peak and pass within a few minutes. However, they can also be symptoms of a heart attack or other serious health conditions. Be sure to get medical assistance if you're concerned. If you have panic attacks about a cancer diagnosis, whether or not you've had them before, it's important to talk to your doctor or try one of the free meditations on our site to manage them. Anger, guilt, and blame. When faced with a cancer diagnosis, it's common to ask, why me? You both may feel angry with your family or friends, health professionals, the world, or even yourself, especially if the cancer is diagnosed late. Cancer often does not cause any symptoms in the early stages, or it may cause symptoms that are more likely to be explained by other conditions. This means it can take some time to get a diagnosis. It's natural to try and work out why the cancer started. You may know some of the risk factors for the cancer, but you may never have a clear answer. It's important to remember that no one deserves cancer. People with cancer often say their main concern is for the people they love and that they feel guilty about putting them through such a stressful time. Chances are your loved one may also be worried about this too. Sadness. Feeling sad after a cancer diagnosis is common. It's a natural response to feel sad with loss and disappointment. They may be grieving the way cancer has changed their day-to-day life, their body, or their future. Loneliness. Cancer can be isolating even when there are many people around to provide support. They may feel lonely if family and friends are having trouble understanding and coping with their diagnosis, or if they're too sick to work, socialize with others, or enjoy their usual activities. Loss of control. Being told you have cancer can be overwhelming, and you may both feel that your emotions are out of control. It may seem that they are losing control of their life, and some people feel helpless and powerless. This can be difficult, especially if they're used to being independent or being the one who takes care of everyone else. Thinking positively. A common belief is that people with cancer need to stay positive. Hope is important, but trying to put on a brave face all the time can feel very draining and often doesn't work well. The reality is that cancer and its treatment can be unpleasant and frightening, and it's okay not to feel great about it. The pressure to be positive can sometimes make it hard for people to discuss their feelings and reach out for support. It's best to try and be realistic about what's happening. It's often a good idea to be open to conversation about their fears and concerns and how they feel they're coping. Encouraging your loved one to share their feelings with those around you may also help to get the support they need. I'll be sharing some practical things you can do in just a few minutes. Coping strategies to look out for. Most of us have various ways of coping with difficult situations, which we've learned over time. These could include seeking more information, finding solutions, having a laugh to feel better, trying to be strong and soldiering on, distracting ourselves from unhelpful thoughts and feelings, shifting our focus to a pleasurable activity, talking things through to try and make sense of what's happening. So, what not to do when supporting a loved one? Going through a cancer journey is a tough road. Having to share a diagnosis with others is an emotional moment in itself, but what can be even more challenging is the wide variety of reactions you might get. The reactions from family and friends will depend on many factors, including their previous experience of cancer and their own coping styles. Sometimes people can respond in ways that evoke feelings of hurt, anger, or frustration. You can help guide family and friends to provide loving and thoughtful responses. So, here are some unhelpful reactions. Be distressed and emotive. People often have a strong emotional reaction to the word cancer and will assign their own meaning to this diagnosis based on their experience. Family members may take this news quite hard as it can stir up their own likelihood of getting cancer. Encourage them to keep their emotions in check. Say the wrong things. People often don't know what to say. They may appear too positive or make light of the situation, or they may even say something tactless or ill informed. It can be difficult to not take their initial reactions as a sign they don't care. They may need as much information, support, and advice as you both do. They might be fearful of losing them, frustrated they can't do anything about the disease, or worried about how the illness will change their life. Give unhelpful advice. In their eagerness to help, people might offer confusing advice or encourage treatment that differs from your medical team. Be sure you and your loved one are well informed and advise well intentioned friends that you're already in good hands. Withdraw. Some friends may want to jump in and offer help, while others may tend to avoid the entire situation. They might feel like they can't cope with what you're going through. If you think not knowing what to say is stopping a friend from visiting you, you could call them to put them at ease. You may find that talking openly about the illness and treatment helps others to be more comfortable about it too. Give family and friends time to adjust to the diagnosis. After the initial shock, most people will be supportive. If you're caring for someone with cancer, there are many ways to show your concern. You can offer both emotional and practical support. Remember that often the little things mean the most. Sidebar: women are often not good at asking for help and often assume the helper or giver role. Learning to be supported and receive help can be a journey in itself. So here are 10 ways that you can help. Ask what they need. One way to take the guesswork out of how your loved one would like to be supported is to simply ask, "How can I support you? What would you like me to do? Is there anything you don't want me to do?" 2. Offer to go with them to appointments. She may be in a state of shock and not taking in information very well. I know this was the case for me, and I was so grateful to have a support person asking questions, taking notes, and helping you to make critical decisions. 3. Don't be afraid to say nothing. The silence might feel awkward, but simply being close to the person or holding their hand also shows you care and provides comfort. 4. Try not to do too much or take over. Give them the opportunity to do things for themselves. This can help them maintain a sense of normality and independence. They may appreciate the chance to be useful and connected to activities they enjoy, such as reading to kids or doing online shopping, even if they can't do as much physically. 5. Look after yourself as the carer. Give yourself time to rest as well as time away from the person with cancer. They probably would also appreciate some time alone. Don't underestimate the emotional impact of supporting someone through cancer. You need to look after your own health if you're going to support her well. 6. Provide practical help. You could cook a meal, help with the house or garden, take the kids to school, or offer to drive the person to appointments. But remember, the carer doesn't have to do it all. Accept offers of help from family and friends. 7. Become informed. Learn about the cancer and its treatment. This will help you understand what they are facing, but hold off on offering your opinion unless they ask you for it. 8. Talk honestly about your feelings. Try not to change the subject if a person gets uncomfortable. Instead, share how you feel and respect each other's feelings. 9. Be around. Your presence can help them feel less isolated and lets them know you care. If you are not there in person, be sure to check in by phone, text, or email. And finally, listen to their concerns. Listening is one of the most critical and compassionate things that you could do at this time. And as a carer, it can be really important to enlist the support of others as well. Cancer is not a solo journey, but one that takes a community of people. As the carer, you may like to delegate tasks to be sure you maintain your own health and well being. There are no prizes for doing it all by yourself. Naturally, people will feel helpless and want to help in some way they can. When people offer, here are some ways that they may assist. Practical support, such as preparing meals, doing household chores, going grocery shopping, driving to appointments, or assisting with outings and exercise. They could also assist with communications, like screening calls and emails, acting as the main point of contact for family and friends, coordinating offers of support, and updating social media. They could also offer companionship by keeping you both company or listening patiently without trying to solve problems. And finally, they could be keeping involved by organizing outings and talking about other subjects apart from cancer. Even though you want to help, it can be hard to know what to say. Cancer is a unique experience for everyone going through it. Their thoughts, feelings, and responses will vary from person to person. Look to them for cues on what to discuss. Sometimes people want to talk about the cancer, and sometimes they'd rather talk about anything but. The most meaningful and helpful things are the little things like listening. If you're not sure how to start the conversation, it's fine to say that too. It's okay to say you're feeling awkward or this is so hard. It's a way to acknowledge the situation rather than pretend it's not happening. If you're struggling to know what to say or how to help your loved one communicate what is going on for them, here are some suggestions. Importantly, try to convey empathy and concern for them. Sort out your own feelings. Should you feel panic stricken and fearful, it's best to get these feelings in check prior to having delicate conversations. More importantly, do not try and fix things. This can be very challenging to hold your opinions and feelings to yourself as there is nothing you can fix. Her cancer journey will unfold as intended. Being present with her and attending to her needs is the best thing you can do. So, here are some helpful questions and prompts to have those delicate conversations. Be sure to ask permission to help, to visit, to have a conversation, etc. Say things like, I'm sorry this has happened to you. Do you want to talk about it? If so, I'm here. If you don't, let's talk about something else. Perhaps say things like, let me hear from you what it means for you, and don't make assumptions about what they must be going through. You could say something like, there are no words. Talk to me about what this means for you. Tell me how it is. Where are you up to with your treatment? Or how are you feeling? Relentless positivity is not helpful. It's okay to express and feel negative emotions. Perhaps you might try something like, what is it you want me to know? Or what help do you need? And be sure to ask if they want to hear stories about other people. Now for the unhelpful questions and prompts. These are the things that you want to avoid. Avoid platitudes like, I know how you feel, or you're going to be fine, or you look well. Also avoid things like, how on earth are you going to get through this? Or sharing war stories of others that aren't helpful. Or health advice that creates confusion. Or saying things like, I know just what you should do. And worst of all, how long do you have? I trust these questions have been helpful, help you to have great conversations with your loved one as you're going through. By now, you've probably realized that you are performing a pretty significant role as carer for your loved one. I'd like to acknowledge you for showing up and doing what you can to walk her through this journey. Cancer is not a solo journey. We need a team of support around us to get us through. For me, the big C stands for the big change. Cancer will change your loved one, and it will most likely change you too. Having traveled this road twice now, I felt called to share my journey, my experience, my insights so that others can not only survive, but thrive through it all. And I want that for both of you too. If right now you're feeling lost, frustrated, and confused about what to say and how to support your loved one, this program will bring you closer. In this webinar, we have covered some important themes around understanding our stress response, the stages of grief, the emotional journey of cancer, conversation starters, and practical ways you can help give support. I've covered a lot of ground here, and it's a lot to take in, I know. I hope you've taken away many insights and tools that will help you through. If you're feeling a tad overwhelmed by all this new information, take comfort in knowing that I am here to help. You have already taken the greatest step in caring for your loved one. Be rest assured, you as the carer don't need to go it alone. I have created the Healing Journey program to lovingly guide and support your loved one through the rocky road ahead so that you don't need to do it all on your own. This is the program I wished I'd had when I was first diagnosed to help guide me through. and it will make it so much easier for her too to have the guidance and support of someone who's walked this road before her. If you do one thing to help her, gift her this program to ease the burden of caring for her and give her the best tools to navigate the road ahead. This comprehensive program brings a holistic approach to healing using the 4-quadrant healing model and focusing on specific things she can do to heal body, mind, and soul. If you want to help her through the rocky road ahead, gift her this program. It's the ultimate opportunity for your loved one to come through her cancer journey with the mental strength and emotional resilience she needs to cope, heal, and grow. So, what's included in the program? Understanding the signs and symptoms of the cancer curse and how to escape its deathly spiral. We'll be covering the 4-quadrant healing model in greater detail with guidance and action steps for holistic healing around each quadrant so she can heal body, mind, heart, and soul. Powerful hypno-mind healing activation to enlist the power and support of her mind to activate body healing. This is the very activation I use to heal myself. 12 soul-nourishing videos where I share some of my journey through treatment, so I literally journey alongside her each step of the way. 15 plus mindfulness practices to bring calm and groundedness when she needs it most. Journaling prompts to encourage inner reflection and healthy expression of her experience. The top 10 questions you need to ask your doctor to make sure you're well informed to make the best decisions about treatment. Meditations to downregulate an overrun nervous system, reduce stress, and help ground her when she's feeling overwhelmed and afraid. Plus gentle Pilates and yoga classes to keep moving in the comfort of your own home. The science shows us that gentle movement is best to promote healing. You get instant access to this entire program, plus a free copy of my Healing Journal ebook, which is not normally included in this program. This program is normally $4.97, and today I'm giving it away for just $2.97. All you need to do is go to the following link and use the code HealingJourney200 to save. Here is what one husband, John, said about the program. The healing journey was a godsend for both my wife and I. We watched it together, which helped us both to understand and talk about what was happening. This program brought us so much closer together and deepened our love. Thank you, Cindy, for making this all possible. Thanks, John. And here's what one cancer thriver, Beth, had to say. Getting cancer was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. Finding this program and having Cindy's ongoing advice and support was just what I needed. I'm not sure how I would have gotten through without her, actually. I think this program should be an essential part of everyone's cancer journey. Another cancer survivor, Joanna. This program saved my life. I was so scared and lost when I was diagnosed, and Cindy's calm and knowing guidance was just what I needed when I was struggling. Thank you, Cindy. I'd highly recommend this program to any woman affected by cancer. And another cancer thriver, Sylvia. OMG, where to start? This program was a game changer. I went from lost and afraid and at the mercy of others to feeling empowered and in the driver's seat of everything. That shift was priceless for me. Thank you so much, Cindy, for creating this amazing resource. I know I am better for it. So give her the best opportunity to not only survive, but thrive from cancer. So again, you get the entire Healing Journey program, normally $4.97, but today it's just $2.97. Plus, I'll gift you a free Healing Journal ebook for registering. All you need to do is go to the following link and use the code HealingJournal200 to save. You might even like to share this webinar with other people that you know that are struggling to support someone going through cancer. You might even like to share this with your loved one herself if you think it might help her. May this healing journey give peace, healing, and love to both of you as you navigate the road ahead.